Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by the Honorable Anthony M. Kennedy and Justice Brent M. Kavanaugh.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Members of Congress, members of the Cabinet, honored guests, and fellow Americans, it is my privilege to address you tonight from the East Room of the White House. We're gathered together this evening for a truly momentous occasion. I have long been told that the most important decision a president can make is the appointment of a Supreme Court justice. Well, in just a few moments, we will proudly swear in the newest member of the United States Supreme Court, Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Joining us for tonight's ceremony is every sitting Supreme Court justice. Chief Justice Roberts, thank you. Justice Thomas, thank you. Justice Ginsburg, thank you. Justice Breyer, thank you, Justice. Justice Alito, thank you. Justice Sotomayor, Justice Kagan, thank you, and Justice Gorsuch. I would also like to send our deep appreciation to Maureen Scalia, the wife of the late, great Antonin Scalia, and also to our White House counsel, Don McGahn. Thank you, Don. Thank you. We are thrilled to be joined this evening by Justice Anthony Kennedy. Justice Kennedy, America owes you a profound debt of gratitude for a lifetime of noble service to our nation. And I want to thank you very much. Thank you. Very special and treasured guests tonight are Justice Kavanaugh's amazing wife, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. And their two beautiful daughters, Margaret and Liza. And we are also joined by Justice Kavanaugh's mom and dad, Martha and Ed. Thank you. I would like to begin tonight's proceeding differently than perhaps any other event of such magnitude. On behalf of our nation, I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. Those who step forward to serve our country deserve a fair and dignified evaluation, not a campaign of political and personal destruction based on lies and deception. What happened to the Kavanaugh family violates every notion of fairness, decency, and due process. Our country, a man or a woman, must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. And with that, I must state that you, sir, under historic scrutiny, were proven innocent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Margaret and Liza, your father is a great man. He is a man of decency, character, kindness, and courage, who has devoted his life to serving his fellow citizens. And now, from the bench of our nation's highest court, your father will defend the eternal rights and freedoms of all Americans. You know that. We are joined tonight by a leader who has never wavered in his support and devotion to the rule of law and to Brett Kavanaugh's elevation. He's worked very, very hard, and he truly has done just an incredible and wonderful job for the American people. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Thank you, Mitch. Please, stand up. I think that's the biggest hand he's ever received. They just don't get it, Mitch. You're great, thank you. Very much appreciated. I'd like to thank another man whose principled leadership has earned widespread admiration, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Chuck Grassley. Thank you, Chuck. We are grateful to all of the senators on the Judiciary Committee who fought so hard for this confirmation. Senators Lindsey Graham, John Cornyn, Orrin Hatch, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, Ben Sasse, Jeff Flake, Mike Crapo, Tom Tillis, and John Kennedy. And thank you also to Rob Portman, sitting right here. Thank you, Rob, very much. And finally, we are indebted to Senator Susan Collins for her brave and eloquent speech and her declaration that when passions are most inflamed, fairness is most in jeopardy. How true, how true. Brett Kavanaugh is a man of outstanding intellect, a brilliant scholar, and his credentials are unsurpassed. A graduate of both Yale College and Yale Law School, he has taught at Harvard, Yale, and Georgetown. When he's not working or with his family, he's giving back to to his community. He spent 26 years in public service, and just like Justice Gorsuch, he clerked for Justice Kennedy. For the last 12 years, Brett was a judge on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, widely regarded as our nation's second highest court. During his tenure, he authored over 300 opinions distinguished by their masterful and impartial reasoning. Known as a judge's judge, he is a fair-minded, unbiased, and even-handed person. He understands that justice must be divorced from the passions of the day, tethered instead to the enduring foundation of our republic, the Constitution. Justice Kavanaugh fills the place left by Anthony Kennedy. Soon, Justice Kennedy will administer the judicial oath to Brett Kavanaugh, just as he did last year for Justice Gorsuch. This will be the first time a Supreme Court justice has ever sworn in a former clerk to take his seat. A beautiful moment which reminds us that freedom is a tradition passed down from generation to generation. And that's a big statement, and I want to thank you for that so much. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. Margaret and Liza's presence tonight reminds us what his historic event, All About Your Father, is all about. It's about what kind of a nation we're going to be and what kind of a country our children will inherit. It is up to each of us and to all Americans watching tonight to answer that question. It is up to us to reclaim our heritage of equal and impartial justice. It is up to us to rededicate ourselves to the traditions and wisdom of our founders. And it is up to us to renew the bonds of love, loyalty, and affection that link us all together as one great American family. Let us pray we are successful in this task, and let us pray that all of America's children will grow up in a country that is fair and just and safe and strong and free. And let us ask God to bless Justice Kavanaugh and his family as they embark on this incredible journey together. I now invite Justice Brett Kavanaugh to come forward and to take the judicial oath. Thank you very much.
Justice Kavanaugh, are you ready to take the oath of office?
I am.
Will you please repeat after me? I, Brett M. Kavanaugh, do solemnly swear
I, Brett M. Kavanaugh, do solemnly swear
that I will administer justice without respect to persons
that I will administer justice without respect to persons
and do equal right to the poor and to the rich,
and do equal right to the poor and to the rich,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States.
as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States,
under the Constitution and laws of the United States.
under the Constitution and laws of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Mr. President, thank you for the great honor of appointing me to serve as a Justice of the Supreme Court. I've seen firsthand your deep appreciation for the vital role of the American judiciary. I am grateful for your steadfast, unwavering support throughout this process. And I'm grateful to you and Mrs. Trump for the exceptional, overwhelming courtesy you have extended to my family and me. Mr. President, thank you for everything. I'm honored to serve on a Supreme Court headed by Chief Justice John Roberts. Chief Justice Roberts is a principled, independent, and inspiring leader for the American judiciary. As a country, we are fortunate to have John Roberts as Chief Justice of the United States. I'm honored to serve alongside all of my new colleagues, each of whom I know, and each of whom I greatly admire and deeply respect. All 9 of us revere the Constitution. Article 3 of the Constitution provides that the judicial power shall be vested in one Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is an institution of law. It is not a partisan or political institution. The justices do not sit on opposite sides of an aisle. We do not caucus in separate rooms. The Supreme Court is a team of 9, and I will always be a team player on the team of 9. As a new justice on the Supreme Court, I understand the responsibility that I bear. Some 30 years ago, standing here in the East Room with President Reagan, Anthony Kennedy took the oath to be a new justice of the Supreme Court. Justice Kennedy became one of the most consequential justices in American history. I served as Justice Kennedy's law clerk in 1993. To me, Justice Kennedy is a mentor, a friend, and a hero. On the Supreme Court, he was a model of civility and collegiality. He fiercely defended the independence of the judiciary and zealously guarded the individual liberties secured by the Constitution. Justice Kennedy established a legacy of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. I will always be humbled and proud to sit in Justice Kennedy's seat on the Supreme Court. Thank you. I thank the members of the United States Senate, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, for his leadership and steady resolve. I thank Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley for his wisdom and fairness. And I give special gratitude to Senators Rob Portman, Susan Collins, Joe Manchin, John Kyle, and Lindsey Graham. They are a credit to the country and the Senate. I'll be forever grateful to each of them and to all the senators who carefully considered my nomination. Presiding over the final vote in the Senate on Saturday was Vice President Pence. I'm grateful to the Vice President for his sound advice and faithful support. I thank counsel to the President, Don McGahn, who was a warrior for fairness and performed his critical duties in the finest traditions of our Constitution. Thank you. I thank all the outstanding people in the White House, the Department of Justice, and the Senate who worked day and night on this nomination. One of a federal judge's most important responsibilities is to hire 4 new law clerks each year. The law clerks are recent law school graduates, and they work in the judges' chambers for 1 year. They're among the best and brightest young lawyers in America, and they become the future leaders of the legal profession. I thank my former law clerks who devoted so much time and energy to support me during the confirmation process. Inspired by my mom, who was a trailblazer for women in the law, I've worked hard throughout my career to promote the advancement of women. Women still face many barriers in the American workplace, and all of us have a responsibility to address that problem. During my 12 years on the D.C. Circuit, a majority of my law clerks were women, and almost all of them went on to clerk at the Supreme Court. A clerkship on the Supreme Court is one of the most coveted achievements and credentials in American law. I'm proud that all 4 of my newly hired law clerks at the Supreme Court are women, a first in the history of the Supreme Court. Tonight, I thank all my friends, so many amazing and fearless friends, from my high school days, college, law school, clerking, the Bush White House, including President George W. Bush. From the judiciary, teaching, coaching, playing sports, the vibrant, loyal, and tight-knit Catholic community here in the D.C. area, and so many others. Ashley and I are grateful for their prayers and for the prayers from the thousands and thousands of people we have heard from throughout America. When I give advice to young people or speak to students, I tell them, cherish your friends, look out for your friends, lift up your friends, love your friends. I love all my friends. I thank my family. My mom, Martha, and my dad, Ed, are here. I'm their only child. My mom was one of Maryland's earliest women prosecutors and trial judges. My dad taught me his work ethic and love of sports. They've given me a lifetime of love, and I'm forever grateful to them. My daughters, Margaret and Liza, are smart, strong, awesome girls. They're in the middle of fall lacrosse, looking forward to the upcoming basketball season. I thank their teachers for giving them the day off tomorrow so that they can come watch 2 cases being argued at the Supreme Court. My wife, Ashley, is a proud West Texan from Abilene, Texas, graduate of Abilene Cooper Public High School, University of Texas at Austin. She's the dedicated town manager of our local community. She's got a deep faith. She's an awesome mom, a great wife. She is a rock. I thank God every day for Ashley and my family. The Senate confirmation process was contentious and emotional. That process is over. My focus now is to be the best justice I can be. I take this office with gratitude and no bitterness. On the Supreme Court, I will seek to be a force for stability and unity. My goal is to be a great justice for all Americans and for all of America. I will work very hard to achieve that goal. I was not appointed to serve one party or one interest, but to serve one nation. America's Constitution and laws protect every person of every belief and every background. Every litigant in the Supreme Court can be assured that I will listen to their arguments with respect and an open mind. Every American can be assured that I will be an independent and impartial justice, devoted to equal justice under law. Although the Senate confirmation process tested me, as it has tested others, it did not change me. My approach to judging remains the same. A good judge must be an umpire, a neutral and impartial decider who favors no litigant or policy. A judge must be independent and must interpret the law, not make the law. A judge must interpret statutes as written, and a judge must interpret the Constitution as written, informed by history and tradition and precedent. In the wake of the Senate confirmation process, my approach to life also remains the same. I will continue to heed the message of Matthew 25. I will continue to volunteer to serve the least fortunate among us. I will continue to coach, teach, and tutor. I will continue to strive to be a good friend, colleague, husband, and dad. As in the past, our nation today faces challenges and divisions. But I am an optimist. I live on the sunrise side of the mountain. I see the day that is coming, not the day that is gone. I am optimistic about the future of America and the future of our independent judiciary, the crown jewel of our constitutional republic. As a justice on the Supreme Court, I will always strive to preserve the Constitution of the United States and the American rule of law. Thank you all.
You've just watched history being made as Brett Kavanaugh is now a new Supreme Court justice, sworn in after a hellish confirmation process. And you're watching it right here on the Liberty One Network live. Well, that was pretty awesome, folks. I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you because I'm watching what you're saying over here in the Liberty One chat room. So many hearts going up. And more than one person has said that they were shedding a tear.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you remain in your seats until the press corps has departed the East Room. Thank you.
Yeah, well, goodbye, press corps. You're not worth that much anyway. Okay, so that's that. It was a moment in history that none of us will ever forget. And I'm pleased as punch. I really am. And the liberals are losing their freaking minds. It's beautiful. But I had another experience today that is going to come as another welcome surprise to my viewers. And that's my opportunity that I had this afternoon. It was a distinct honor that I was able to interview General Jack Bergman, Marine Corps General, who is now the Congressman for Michigan's 1st Congressional District. And I asked him a couple of very important questions. I asked him about the Me Too movement and the 264 congressmen that have been accused and have settled complaints of sexual harassment and discrimination, costing the U.S. taxpayer $17 million. But their names are being withheld due to non-disclosure agreements. And I also asked him about the violence that we see today from the left. Violence that's stoked by people like Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And you're going to love his answer to my question. So I've got this prepackaged interview. I apologize that things aren't running absolutely perfect, but I was literally doing graphics and everything 30 seconds before President Trump came out. And that's live television for you folks. But here we go. This is my interview with General Jack Bergman this afternoon. This afternoon, I had an opportunity to speak with General Jack Bergman, my congressional representative for Michigan's 1st Congressional District. And we had a nice discussion, talked about a couple of very important questions. And the first was this violent rhetoric that's been spouted by Maxine Waters and people on the left, telling their supporters to go out and find Republicans and harass them and intimidate them wherever they might be found, gas stations, restaurants, the mall, movie theaters. We've seen all of those things and much more. Hundreds of death threats have come in against prominent Republicans and Republicans in general. Anybody that's is a conservative. If you wear a Make America Great Again hat, well, you're a target. And General Bergman was present at the baseball practice last year where a deranged leftist opened fire and wounded 4 people, almost killing House Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Senator Rand Paul was seriously injured when he was attacked by another liberal Looney Tune. Other members of the Trump administration and other high-ranking Republicans have been harassed, physically intimidated, and have received hundreds of death threats. Now, this has been encouraged by California Representative Maxine Waters, who told an audience to confront Republicans wherever they might be found. And I asked General Bergman this question: should the House sanction Maxine Waters for her violent rhetoric, for inciting violence? And this is what he said.
That kind of behavior is beneath any elected representative at any level. So I would suggest to you that in the 116th Congress, you'll see appropriate results. But we're focused on legislation, and if we focus on all of the individual less than strict behavior that I assume Marines and all that stuff, they'd have been brought to office hours, non-judicial punishment. It's time for the House to step up and say, you know what, that's unacceptable.
If you'll remember, last year, Senator Al Franken and Michigan Congressman John Conyers resigned after being accused of sexually abusing several women. Conyers even paid $27,000 to silence one victim. But since 1977, 264 separate complaints of sexual misconduct or discrimination have been made against senators, congressmen, and members of their staff. And last year alone, the U.S. Treasury paid nearly $1 million to those victims. The total amount paid to victims under the Congressional Accountability Act is almost $17 million. But the names of the offenders have been kept secret through the use of non-disclosure agreements. These offenders have not actually been held accountable by the Congressional Accountability Act. And I asked General Bergman what he thought about that.
The short answer is there should be total transparency in any of these. Names are named, and there should be not one federal dollar spent on any claim settlement. That is our taxpayers' money. So, yes, names should be named and no federal money spent.
I really like those answers. Accountability not only for congressmen that go beyond the pale and incite violence with their obscene rhetoric, but also for full accountability and no spending of federal dollars for those who have accused our elected representatives of sexual harassment or discrimination. He wants to name names. So please, join my We Want Names campaign. Spread this video wherever you see it, and demand that your congressman also support legislation that will name the names of these perpetrators. Because, folks, we've got a social contract with our elected representatives. We send them to to Washington, D.C. with the expectation that they serve us with honor and some sense of ethics. And many of them have failed in that mission. So we need to find out who they are and just recall them, get them booted out of the Senate and the House of Representatives because they don't deserve to represent us in the hallowed halls of Congress. So yeah, remember to like, comment, and share this video with the hashtag #WeWantNames. And let's get rid of these scumbags. As Helen is noting in the Liberty One chat room, gag orders won't permit the revealing of these names. Unfortunately, we would have all new people in Congress and Senate. That's not a bad thing. We've got 535 members of Congress, and 264 of them have been accused of sexual assault, misconduct, or discrimination. Well, yeah, it's time for them to go. And that's what I love about General Jack Bergman. He's a man that serves with honor. He served with honor in the Marine Corps as commanding general, and he serves with honor now as a United States Congressman for Michigan's 1st Congressional District. Beautiful. I love it. All right, folks, we're going to take a look at some of these liberal losers. They have been losing every last bit of their minds. And I don't know what to say. I've never seen anything like it. Since I was 14, I've been a news hound. I've been watching news from all over the world, from sources all over the world, and I've never seen anything in the United States like this. It is really and truly disgusting. And we've got to do something about it. Because when Maxine Waters goes out and tells people, you know, find Trump supporters wherever they might be, find them in restaurants, find them in movie theaters, find them in gas stations, wherever they might be and whatever they might be doing, and harass them, that's a problem. You know, General Bergman survived a mass shooting where a Bernie bro took a gun and started gunning down congressmen. Senator Rand Paul survived 2 attacks, one of which left him seriously injured. And Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi was accosted at a movie theater. Senator Ted Cruz was accosted while he was eating dinner with his wife. Sarah Sanders was asked to leave the Red Hen restaurant because of who she is. This is completely unacceptable. And something has to be done about it. And we need you to spread this message. So please remember to like, comment, and share all of our videos on the Liberty One Network. And if you have the ability, please go to bobpowell.blogspot.com and hit that PayPal button and help me fight to save lives and win souls for Jesus Christ in these very last days by bringing people the truth. And we can get it done. So, oh man, I don't even know if I want to put this up there. This guy is a real Looney Tune. But let's go ahead and do that. Because the only way that we're going to be able to fight the enemy is to understand the enemy. Doggone it. My hand is still giving me problems. I would appreciate some prayers in that area. I went and saw the doctor today, and he finally gave me some steroids to combat this tendinitis that I've got going on. I went to pick up a hash brown from McDonald's the other day and screamed and woke up everybody in the whole house. I'm telling you, folks, this hurts. And modern medication doesn't seem to be doing it, and it's going to be at least until after Thanksgiving before I can get in to see an orthopedist. So yeah, this Chuck Wendig guy, take a look at him for a sec. Apparently he's a New York Times best-selling author, and he admits that he's totally insufferable. Well, yeah, he is. Let's look at his latest tweet here. Winter is coming, you callous blanknecks, you prolapsed a-holes, you grotesque monsters, you racists and rapists, and wretched abusers, you vengeful, petty horrors. Insane. Absolutely insane. Is it any wonder that people want to kill conservatives? I mean, literally kill them. When you've got people like this that are revered on the left, people like Cher and Sarah Silverman and Bette Midler and the like, calling for violence against conservatives. It's insane and it can't be allowed. I mean, these people actually hurt other individuals. Like, let's look at Antifa just yesterday. You don't believe what these scumbags did to this elderly man who was trying to escape their rampage and get in his car and leave. Look at that metal baton that guy's got. They literally wanted to kill that man. It was interesting. General Bergman, when I went to, it was the grand opening of the new Michigan 1st District GOP office here in Alpena. And he gave me a look when he saw me with a sidearm, open carrying a sidearm. And I can understand his apprehension, because we live in a time where people have lost their minds. They're willing to kill people, do bodily injury, riot in the streets, and nobody's really going to jail over this. And they should be. They should all be going to jail. If you make a death threat on Twitter, you need to go to jail. But these blue check marks aren't even losing their accounts. They'll suspend James Woods for being funny and making points that the left doesn't like. But when people actually threaten the lives of conservatives on Twitter, Jack doesn't do anything about it. He doesn't care. That Sarah Jong had a series of racist tweets about how old white men need to die. And white people, live under rocks. That's why we're so pale, because we don't get enough sun. Just a series of ridiculous things like that. And she's not only not lost her Twitter account, she was verified, and the New York Times hired her to sit on their editorial board. That's got to be what do I want to say? It's got to be sanctioned in the strongest means, in the strongest measures possible. And this chick, Alyssa Milano, she's saying that her latest little deal on Conspiracy News, MSNBC, is that Trump supporters are members of a cult. And we need to be put down. Let's see what she's got to say here. Bring that up for you real quick. Speak, witchy woman.
He is completely and totally belittling the intelligence of the American people.
But he's not doing it by accident, and neither is Lindsey Graham. They're speaking to a huge portion of the population who agree with them. What do you think about that?
Do they agree with him, or is he using some sort of like cult-like force to try to make them see that? I mean, I'm not sure if you were to have a real conversation with any American, whether they be Democrat or Republican, that they would side with this kind of behavior where we've reached a low where we're actually mocking people and their stories of hurt and of pain. Who are we? Who do we want to be as a country? What are we trying to project to the young people of this world, to the young people of this country? It's heartbreaking to me. And I think we are in a time right now that is very gray, right? This is the Me Too generation. What is happening right now is we are defining boundaries that have never been defined before. So whereas Trump might say that white men have it very difficult right now, I'm saying that women, young people, have had it difficult for generations and generations and generations, and we will not be silenced any longer. And if that means that men have a hard time right now, then I'm sorry. This is the way the pendulum has to shift.
I'm sorry, sweet pea, but I'm not having a hard time right now. It's pretty easy winning when President Trump is at the helm. But yeah, she's trying to demonize old white men. Well, I'd like to remind her that old white men wrote our Constitution and wrote the Declaration of Independence. And they were geniuses. We've got other, they're calling for elimination of the Electoral College now. So I'm going to show you the little smackdown I gave to this guy, Kevin Delanian from NBC. He says, it may not happen in our lifetimes, but the idea that North Dakota and New York get the same representation in the Senate has to change. Senators representing less than half the U.S. are about to confirm a nominee opposed by most Americans. Well, this guy's got a problem. I don't believe he's being serious. How can you graduate from high school? This is what I said. And probably college and get a job with a major network and still not understand how our system of governance works? I knew this stuff in 5th grade, for Pete's sake. It's called the House of Representatives. Look it up. And he's not the only one. Let's see, there's Julie Eihoff, who works for GQ magazine, says, we're a country where 2 presidents have lost the popular vote and have now placed 4 justices on the Supreme Court. Democracy in action. She doesn't seem to understand that the United States is not a democracy. I told her, sweet pea, the United States is not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. The word comes from the Greek word demos, people, plus kratia, to rule. That equals rule of the people, also known as mob rule, where 51% can tell 49% how to live. That's why the founders, also known as old white men, were such geniuses, and you are not. They want to rule by emotion. And if we're going to have a fair system of governance, you can't rule by emotion. You have to rule by facts. You have to rule by law. And you have to follow the Constitution. The Electoral College was put into place so that populous cities like New York and Los Angeles can't determine the fate of the rest of the country. That's why we have our House of Representatives, where the representatives are chosen on the population, and the Senate, where every state gets 2 votes. Okay, they support and work together to make sure that everybody is getting a fair shake. And Jack over at Twitter and Google, YouTube, they want to make sure that we don't get a fair shake because we've got valid points that reasonable people will accept. But they're shadow banning conservatives, demonetizing our content so that we can't make a living, which is important to remember when you go to bobpowell.blogspot.com and hit that PayPal button. YouTube is going to pay me about $27 this month. It's better than last month. I got $5. But here's Google's lead designer. His name is Dave Hogue. And Dave Hogue says, "You are finished, GOP. F you all to hell." That's Google's lead designer. How can we trust Google and Facebook and YouTube to administer their platforms fairly when you've got people like this running those platforms? People that are avowed socialists, or in some cases, downright communists. I think it's time for President Trump to visit the idea of hitting them with sanctions. Maybe breaking them up like they did to AT&T back in the day. Because they are monopolies. They're monopolies on information. And they are interfering in our elections. And our midterm elections are just 30 days away, my friends. We've been winning so far. But you cannot take that for granted. Don't you dare take it for granted. Because if the Democrats attain a majority in the House, you're going to hear nothing but Maxine Waters going, "Impeach 45, impeach 45," until she's hoarse and can't speak any longer. President Trump's policies have been totally winning. That's the only word that you can subscribe to it. And ISIS is gone. As an army, they're dead, literally dead. North Korea was another big win. Last week, the North Koreans and South Koreans started removing landmines between their border there on the 38th parallel. And yesterday, Kim Jong-un said that he is going to allow international inspectors to come in and verify the fact that he has dismantled his nuclear facilities. So, yeah, we've got to keep this momentum going. Find out who your representatives are and make sure that you go out and vote for them. All 435 representatives are up for re-election this year. Every single one of them. And a lot of senators, too. And especially in states where the race is heavily contested. Like here in Michigan, Debbie Stabenow is like 10 points ahead of John James, an African-American war hero who has been endorsed by President Trump. And we need to bring those numbers up. Don't let them even think about a blue wave. Time for a red tsunami, my friends. One last little funny before we go. Here's a tweet by Odious has risen. You guys know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is, right? Somebody imposed Brett Kavanaugh's face over Stone Cold Steve Austin slamming some beers together and celebrating. Well, yeah. American men like to drink beer. Some of us. Many of us. Probably a majority of us. And I can't believe that they tried to use that as an excuse to keep that man off the Supreme Court. He's a good, decent, gentle man. And I believe that Brett Kavanaugh is going to be a wonderful addition to this nation's highest court. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight for the live swearing-in ceremony for Justice Brett Kavanaugh. live from the White House right here on the Liberty One Network. My name is Bob Powell, and I'll see you Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Until then, as always, God bless, Semper Fi, and hoorah. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Smack runner, your game is through. Smack runner, I'm talking to you.
Jermaine Botzio's up next. Make sure you stay tuned to Liberty One right here on the Liberty One Network.